Hello my Wolfpack puppies, Wolfpup14 here, and today in this video I will be crocheting a birdie pop. Right here on the left you can see the pattern that I'm going to use. Link will be down in the description below. So you just saw me showing a little bit of the materials that I will be using. I will be using a light yellow, a regular yellow, and some black yarn. And it looks like I'm already starting, so let's begin. Now this pattern calls for a magic ring at the beginning, and I don't have a tutorial video on my channel, but I'll be doing that in the near future. This is the first round, and I didn't realize until now while I was editing this video that you can't really see it. But it was the first round, so of course it's going to be pretty small. You will see at the top left corner that I added what round I'm on. I skipped ahead and only recorded when I finished a round because that would save space on my computer. Here I am using a stitch marker to mark the last 2 rounds of this part of the pattern that I'm doing. Now in that last display of progress, you'll notice that there are 2 stitch markers. Well, one of those stitch markers is a row above to mark the start of the eyes. At this moment, I replace the stitch markers with a different color for the eyes. Here is when there is a break in the pattern. At this part we will be transitioning to the neck, so I decide to go have lunch. This is the final row of the neck, so I just decided to record the entire thing. Here I have finished the round. Onto the body. I recorded a bit where I found a knot in between the yarn from when I tied 2 loose ends together. You can barely see it though. I thought it was really cute. Round 19 is when you start adding on the appendages, like the arms. What's really impressive is I got it in one go without skipping any stitches. This is where I got to the part of the pattern where it called for a bobble stitch. So I grabbed my little chart that I made by myself. It consists of the bobble stitch, the popcorn stitch, and the puff stitch. Here it is. I'm going to be adjusting the view so you can see the first column that shows the bobble stitch. Finished! Now I'm going to show the little feet. And if you didn't know, when you crochet, you actually crochet inside out. So I had to push out the feet to show them to you. Let me explain that better. Say you're crocheting something, especially something in the round. Well, when you crochet it, the outside part ends up being inside. So you're going to have to turn it so that the outside is showing. You can do this anytime in the middle of your project. Personally, I like to do it towards the end of the project. Right now I'm working on round 20, which is basically the same number of stitches as round 19. It's 24 stitches in total, so you won't see a change or a skip in the video. The next time you do, it will be for round 21, which has a lot of color changes. Oh, and it looks like I'm counting all of my stitches. Then I'm going to get up to grab the colors that I'm going to use to switch in this next row. Here are my two colors. I have a darker yellow for the beak and feet, and a red just in case I wanted to use red for the beak and feet, which I didn't end up doing. That would be too contrasting of colors. Round 21 was a pretty long round, so I tried to speed up the video as much as I could. I got a little bit confused toward the end because it said to fasten off and start stuffing the body, but then it continued with rounds 22 to 24. And then it said to fasten off again. So I decided to, in a way, fasten off, but not completely get rid of the string, because I wanted to keep going with those rounds. I didn't want it to end at round 21. And the pattern didn't say to end on round 21. It had rounds 22 through 24. Now onto the stuffing. This is the body of the Birdie Pop, including the wings and feet. I'm very proud of it. This is that confusing transition from round 21 to round 22, so that's why I look a little unsure, you could say. This is the final round where you fasten off at the end, and I was really excited for this because I'd been working on it for 30 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours. Now that we're done with the rounds, it's time to sew it all in. I added a little bit more stuffing because there wasn't enough in the top part. Here's the transition, and now I have the eyes. Now I had to do the eyes 3 or 4 times again because I realized I stitched them on the opposite side of the head, so on the back side. And then when I tried to undo all of my knots and tying, I ended up ruining the eyes, so I had to crochet 2 or 3 more sets. But I finally got it, so I'm just gonna skip to that part when I finally have the eyes assembled. I also customized my own beak. Originally, you were supposed to place a stitch marker and that would have become the beak once you crocheted it all in, but I just crocheted myself a separate beak and then stitched that in. This is the part where I realized I stitched them in backwards. You can tell that time has passed because I now have a headband in. And here's the finished product. You'll notice that the neck is a bit long, so I'm gonna have to squish that down. 1 second, please. Here it is, the Birdie Pop completely finished. And I'm going to show it from different angles. I also there was an option to add a little booty to the back of the duck. So I did decide to sew it in. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know if you want to see me crocheting and making more crochet videos. And of course, I cannot end this video without giving credit to the people who made this adorable pattern. Shout out to Gwenny Z Crochet and crochet_crochet on Instagram. Link will be down in the description below if you want to go to their page and try out the pattern for yourself. As always, crochet, knit, and howl on. Ow!